What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of DT Podcast. How's everybody doing this evening, this morning, this afternoon, whenever you're watching? Doesn't matter. Yes, I'm wearing a Santa hat. Yes, it is warm under here, but it's Christmas time, so I don't care. I'm very festive. I love Christmas. I celebrate Christmas to the nth degree. And that's just how I roll. I wear this outside and people make fun of me for it. I'm like, well, fuck you. You don't celebrate Christmas? Look the other direction. It's like a woman breastfeeding. Now, I'm not suggesting for 1 second that me wearing a Santa hat around Christmas time where people are making fun of me is the same as, a woman breastfeeding in public. But if you don't want to see it, look away. Very fucking simple. That took a turn in the intro. Today, we have Anna, the powerful self, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. Go check her stuff out. She is an amazing human being. The conversation took many different turns. I love these type of conversations. Do me a favor, guys. Hit the like button if you liked it. Hit the dislike button if you didn't like it. Tell me why you didn't like it in the comments. Or if you liked it, tell me what you liked in the comments. Also, hit the subscribe button. It's something that us YouTubers have to do and say. Hit the subscribe button. Subscribers are currency. So maybe one day when I'm at like levels of collateral and leverage, I don't know, I'll be able to say, hey, company, please give me X amount of local currency and I'll get your product out there. I don't know, I'm rambling now, but guys, listen, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope everyone has a nice Christmas and enjoy this conversation with Anna, the powerful self. She's Anna, she's powerful, and she's herself. Anna, how you doing?
Ooh, I like that intro. I'm doing really well. Thank you. How are you doing?
Awesome. Great to have you here. I am doing well. I am in the festive mood. This
I
is
can
how I
see that. Yeah, I
roll.
love it.
There you go. Um, yeah, here we are. I said I'd ask you back on, but not technically back on because there's been a rebranding. This is now the DT podcast. The previous brand is no longer. So we had a very cool couple of conversations on the previous brand. And I said, you know what? I want to talk to you again. I want to get you on this one. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. And I love that. Like I said, like last time I just clicked and it was so good. And this is all about reinvention. So yeah, I love it. Let us actually begin. Let me begin by asking you a question.
Hit me.
Why did you decide to continue and why the rebranding? What was the story behind that? I know you addressed some of it, but let's have a recap here and then the conversation will flow from there.
All right. Love questions. Um, so I've fallen in love with talking and podcasting and setting up, and there's been ups and downs when it comes to like this process. You've seen me and you've heard me bitch about people who've canceled on me last minute.
I love how
And
you began with like, it's a love story that has its ups and downs. Like, don't we all? Don't we
there
all?
you go. It's so true. But the gym idea didn't work out, and it doesn't make sense to do a podcast under a gym that I'm not going to go ahead with. That brand is gone. I'm not doing that anymore, so it doesn't make sense to continue it. So I'm like, do I start another one? Do I start a new platform? Do I stop altogether? I don't know what I'm going to do. So I just decided, all right, someone mentioned it to me before that your podcast is essentially a glorified Facebook status because I'm very sarcastic. I like to be funny and sarcastic on Facebook when I'm updating. And I said, you know what? Just keep going. Just do it under my name, my brand. Do it under my terms. And I'm not like, caged into like a specific area for discussion.
Mm.
So it's not just fighting. It's not just fitness. And it's not just associated with a gym. It can be the wonderful and weird thoughts that is in my brain that I can just get out there on a podcast. So I said, hey, let's just keep doing it. Just do it under my name. And here we are.
I love it. And what's your intention for this one? Like you said, it's like, different topics and it's kind of like you letting it out. But what's that why beneath that? That's what I want to go to.
Wow.
I'm always going into the depths. It's like, right, you said that, like the surface level, like what's beneath that?
Wow. This is my therapy session. I love it. Here we go. Um,
It all started when I was 5.
it all started when I was 5, is true. I don't know. There's a lot of people don't want to be on camera. There's a lot of people don't want to be on
Mm,
stage. I used to be a drummer in a band. I used to love the attention of, do you start a band? Do you become a live performer and hope that no one sees you? Like,
mm.
I also wouldn't consider myself like a class clown or someone who wants attention all the time. But I enjoy conversations, and I'm a huge podcast fan. Like, I love like the Joe Rogan podcast, Bert Kreischer, Two Bears, One Cave, The Fighter and the Kid. Two guys, four guys sitting down talking about guy things. Like, not all guy things, but just to sit there and have a conversation. And I love the fact that I've got a microphone here that I can set up and edit it myself, put it out there. It's fun. It's a fun thing, like a hobby for me to achieve and to get out there and get done. Now,
I
the
love it.
intention to start it with the gym was a different intention.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to like reinvent my idea of the intention over the last month or so. And I
Mm-hmm.
just thought, I still have a lot to say. It's still me. I still like fighting. I still like the gym. I'm going to join a gym over the next few months at some point here in Lucerne, and I can still talk about all the things I want to talk about. Like, I still think I can talk about politics and give relationship advice and all that kind of shit talk. I still think it's possible. So here I am.
I love it. Yeah, and I remember one of our first conversations, like when we met, and I just asked you, and it like turned out in the conversation that you do podcasts, and you were just so lit up about it, and you were so lit up about that project. And I'm like, ooh, like your energy just totally went up. So yeah, I totally get that, and I love that you just followed your passion with that.
It's just fun, right? I didn't think
Mm,
for a second that I'd be calling this a passion or anything like that. Like, I love fighting. I love punching people in the face. I love heavy metal music. But if this is something that I can achieve from the comfort of my own home, then
mm.
and if I enjoy it, I'm going to keep doing it. It's very warm under this hat. I'm going to take it off for a while. It's too
That's what
hot.
I thought of because you usually wear it out. I'm like, that's dedication right there to the festive season.
I know.
Um, Yeah, it's like as it's funny how you say that because people are like, follow your passion, live your dreams.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I didn't know I was doing it. Like I just like all these things. Like I didn't actually know that I was living the dream. But yeah, I love that.
Yeah. It's so weird, right? Because again, as I said, I never thought for a second that this would be something
Mm,
that I would enjoy. I remember the first time I had a brief conversation with someone about setting up a podcast. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to have to pay for all the equipment and I'm going to have to pay for somebody to edit it. And then what if nobody watches? I'm going to waste all this money. And I remember I talked to my brother and he said, you just do it all yourself. It's very easy. And I'm like, all right, I'm listening. And here we are.
love
But
it.
my intention over the last month or so has been super motivated and inspired by your stuff, because I sat there for 3 out of 4, like maybe 3 or 4 nights out of the week, 2 weeks in a row, going, I got to get a podcast out. I've no energy. I'm too tired. I'm going to sit on the couch and I'm going to think about what I'm going to do tomorrow night.
Mm.
Well, I'm scrolling through Instagram and you're just killing the game. You're just every day, boom, 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 content. How do you keep going?
Ooh.
It's a big one.
Hmm. I feel like it's in that, a lot of people like when they start and they're like, well, how do I keep getting content? Or like, how do I know I'll still have something to talk about? And it's really, I mean, when it just flows through you, when it's kind of like that inspired action, like you're not going to get it from that burnout place of like, oh my God, I got to get something out there, or like, oh, consistency and whatever. That's what people say, right? So that's what I'm supposed to do. Um, you don't get results with that. And it's like, okay, you may do that, right? You may like pressure yourself and push yourself. And it's just like, it feels crappy. The energy of it is crappy. Then you don't get like, the response that you would have hoped for. But then when you're there, like just it just flows through you, and it's like your inspired action, and just something you enjoy and something that you enjoy doing. And it gets to the point, like, even when you do it, it's not even about, like, you don't look at, what was the responses like. It's like, it doesn't matter, because I just like spoke that which really resonated with me, that we just came through. And if it affects somebody, then great. If it doesn't, that's all right too. So it's kind of like, you just that it's like a shift in many ways. And so when you're actually talking about something that you're passionate about, or you're there going into, well, how will this serve someone, or how can I be of service, how can I support someone today, how can I actually make a difference today, like be that light, and you have that intention, instead of, are they going to like me, or like, what should I say, do I sound this way or that way? And that just shifts a lot. So I feel like that why is really important.
Yeah, yeah. Because I see your stuff like every single day. You're my daily dose of therapy,
Mm.
because I don't have that anywhere else. Like I don't have time. Like this is, I think, something you've talked about before. I don't have time to sit there and think
Mm,
about things in such an in-depth way
mm.
that would make sense to.
That's why you got your Anna story on Instagram every single day. Just some piece of wisdom right there.
That's exactly what it is. And this is why I would encourage more people to follow that type of stuff, especially your stuff, because um I'm looking at my life right now as a very busy schedule. Like I've got 7 days full to the brim, and I don't
Mm,
have time a lot of the time to set up and talk to someone or schedule something that would eventually be canceled like a day before or something like that. Um, so that's why I saw your stuff for Advent this time round, and I'm like,
mm.
how could I not steal your idea? Because I don't want to be blatant and say that I've stolen something from you. But can I do something on Instagram related to my podcast, still keep the same sarcasm and just do it quickly? So I thought
Mm,
motivational, obviously from a funny perspective, motivational and advice stories on the Instagram page. And that's like it's 2 days old right now, but I don't have a lot of time to sit down and really focus on myself, my thoughts, my intentions, my goals. I'm too busy right now, and I'm trying to work down through those ideas. And and again, your stuff is my indirect therapy, I guess. It's really, really
oh,
inspiring.
thank you. So I absolutely love that. I loved all the compliments, and I want to start. Can I coach you a little bit here?
Right.
I do that with, I was like, my friends, with my clients. So things, being really conscious of our language, right? When we're there repeating things like, I don't have time, and you like emphasize that several times, like you said that phrase, it's like we want to shift phrases like that. I want to say, like, I'm really excited to about having more time in the future, right?
Wow.
Because that like impacts the subconscious. The subconscious, they're like, I don't have time, I don't have time. It's like, well, you're not going to find time with that attitude. So it's like, I'm really excited about having more time in the future. And like last week was packed, but I'm really excited. So that, like, that does alter the way your day goes and the way you actually find that energy. And one of the things that I want to address with this one, because that's like one of those inner critic traps that comes up a lot, because I know I have that, especially in regards to like working out, or even, I mean, anything really. Like, even when I want to do some work and I'm like, okay, it's gonna take, maybe 20 minutes. Oh, well, I only have 5 minutes now. And like, there's no point of starting or whatever. Or even if it's like, a lot of people, I hear that with the workouts, right? They're like, just get some exercise. They're like, I'm totally gonna work out. It's like, oh, I don't have, 1 hour to go to the gym. It's kind of like, can you do 5 minutes of like sit-ups or something? Like anything. It's like, well, no, because it's gonna take more time. Or like 5 minutes isn't gonna do anything. It's like, well, at the end of the day, you either got 5 minutes or you got 0 minutes, right? Like the goal was 20, but you didn't get anything at all. So it's like, isn't 5 minutes like better? So we oftentimes go into like, I was gonna take so much time. It's like, it doesn't have to. And this is basically like what you said. You're like, I can still do that even though I don't have that investment of time at the moment. So it's like, I can, still do something that excites me, that lights me up, and is there of value.
As you're saying that, I'm thinking, all right, I've got a 10-minute bus commute in the morning to work. I
Yeah.
could do sit-ups at the back of the bus.
That's not what I was going for. I was going more for like an audiobook. Like that's what I had actually. I had that commute, and I'm like, okay, this is just me killing time, and I like to be super efficient with my time. And I remember actually somebody at some point, they're like, are you just standing around watching the kids or something? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't stand around and watch kids. I read a book while my kids are playing or something like that. So like all my time slots are totally taken. And actually one of the commute things, I was like, okay, how can I like fully utilize this time? And this is when like I answer the emails that I don't have time to answer when I'm not driving, or if I'm driving, I'm there listening to like an audiobook that I, have on my list and that I want to catch up on. So it's kind of like, those 5 minutes can make a difference. Maybe not the
Yeah.
sit-up thing, but yeah, in other ways. Get
Just
creative other ways.
sit-ups and push-ups on the bus at 8:15 in the morning. That would be hilarious. I'd end up viral on YouTube like crazy guy. But yeah, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Like trying to, you see, for me, I like to, and just specifically on the podcast, not about working out now, because I can take my 10, 15 minutes at home and that's fine. But to really enjoy the process of setting up for a podcast, having a good conversation, editing it, exporting it, and then putting it out and promoting it. I don't want to rush that process. So
Mm.
I used to like do 3 a week and like do it all in one go. Like
Mm-hmm.
from press record to push it on social media, it's all done sitting right here. But now I'm having to like set up, go do my thing, talk, go do my thing, export, and then just the whole process is like a 4 5 day process now. I don't know if it's going to impact the quality of it's definitely impacting the quantity, but the quality, I don't know. I'll have to gauge it over the next 2 or 3 months and see where I am. But having the time is the problem right now, because again, busy schedules, life, stuff.
It's just
You're
like
just
opportunities. Again, I'm just listening to that. I'm just like, you want to
yeah,
say opportunities right now. Just like not, busy
yeah.
life schedules, just like a lot of new evolution opportunities. I was just like playing with that schedule and making like a nice Tetris game out of
Right.
it.
Like it's like office speak, as
Mm.
previously advised is another way of saying, read my last email, motherfucker. Yeah, I
Right.
get it. But what's your what tell people what you've been doing over the last, let's say, week and a half with the Advent posts, because that's what got me, because I'm a huge Christmas guy.
Mm.
And with what we just discussed about the social media, and now what I'm going to do with Instagram is it's all part of what I just saw from you. So have you been
Mm.
enjoying that process?
Yeah, I mean, okay, like so the Advent was that idea was pre-recorded and I think I did it in 2 goes, and but it was just like sitting down and like, okay, what is of most value? And I sat down, and the Advent was until the 21st, is going to be until the 21st because the solstice. But it was there basically, what are those tools that I want to share, and what is something that can be so short but that can people actually like be of benefit? Because I also hate a lot of those like even like the commercial advent things you buy and you're like, well, I got a piece of crap today. So I'm like, I wanted something to be of value and something that like, okay, what can you actually apply? Something that's not heavy, something that's they're doable, and like, okay, you can actually try it on, and like the different techniques and whatever, and then people can see like, okay, this worked for me for the day and I can use that. So it's basically the concept is that every single day there's like a short video of something inspirational, something like a tool that you can apply to your life. And yeah, I've gotten good reviews so far with that, and some people try things out. So I like that, when we're there like evolving and trying something new. That
Yeah,
was
and
the
I
purpose of that.
I saw maybe it was before when you were talking about taking time out of your schedule for me time. Was that prior to
Mm.
the Advent or was that during the Advent? I forget. I watched so many of your videos, I don't know where I'm at.
I'm not sure. That might have been before. That's one of
Yeah.
the things I preach like all the time, so it's really hard to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause that's what stuck with me when I was
Hmm.
during the rebrand, during my idea of what I wanted, doing one
Hmm.
podcast a week instead of 3. Taking time out and really like, this is my time dedicated for me, and I'm not going to clean the apartment. I'm not going to discuss
Hmm.
plans tomorrow. I'm not going to play toys right now. I'm going to really, really focus on this and just get one podcast out a week. And again, it's my daily dose of therapy that I get from you. It's fantastic. But
I
again,
love that. And I love that you said the whole, like, taking time for yourself. And that's so important. And oftentimes it's like our mind will use those excuses. It's kind of like, oh, but it's my work and it lights me up. Or it's like, oh, but it's from my home so that I can clean. Again, it's my space. It's kind of like, no, it's still, you're still like it's like looking for loopholes of how to go around. That's like, no, you can't have your me time of just like not doing anything. You still have to be in that doing. And that's where like the mind takes you and that inner critic takes you of just like, you still have to do, and you have to like produce, or you have to like, can we make this time efficient? It's like, what if you just take time for being, and can that be okay? And for some people, it's actually scary, because if you stop, it's just like a lot of things come rushing, and a lot of just like a lot of emotions, but it's still like, it's nice to ease into that. And it's just, it's really transformational actually.
And what, like, it's like and I've never been in like AA or anything, but some people are afraid to go to AA
Mm.
because of the fact, what if that doesn't work? Have you ever had an experience where someone has declined to take me time because what if there is nothing for them to do, or they can't find anything that makes them happy that's just specifically for them? How would someone overcome that?
Well, I mean, I want to say, like, I was that person, just like go, go, go. And I'm being so productive and efficient. And in
Yeah.
that like shadow masculine, like go, 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 because it's like when you stop, it's actually that like, whoa, I have to face all my feelings and emotions. And that's why a lot of people, like very successful overachiever type of people, they have this like next goal, next goal, next goal. And then it's like, I have everything I want. Why do I still feel like crap? Like, why am I still miserable? Shouldn't I be happy now because I ticked everything off my list? And like, why do I still feel empty? It's kind of like, because you were in that go, 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 because you were somewhere out there and you never built a connection within. It's kind of like if you have a family and you're there, like, working all the time, and you come home and you're like, why do I feel so unloved? And like, there's this connection. It's like, because you're never here,
Mhm.
and it's the same thing. It's like at some point we have to come home to ourselves, and we see like, did I actually spend time building and maintaining that relationship within myself, or was I just like checked out the whole time? And it's really scary when you were checked out the whole time and you come in here and you're like, I'm empty, and this is what matters, this is what you have.
Yeah. You
Yeah, so
say,
to yeah,
well,
go
you're
ahead.
saying that, and I just remember I was at a playground and I saw a dad who does nothing but complain about his kids not listening to him and screaming all the time. And at the playground, all he's doing is he's on his phone scrolling through Instagram and Facebook. I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Just thinking of that now, I'm like, oh man, because that's what it is. Essentially, you're not spending any quality time on the very thing that you're complaining about isn't working for you. So it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
I'm like, because I'm always, whenever I hear something like that, like I also like to be like the devil's advocate, because they're like, I'm that parent at the playground who just reads my book and be like, yeah, go play. Because it's like, this is my me times. Like, you guys are playing and I'm reading my book. And so it's kind of like, you can see that from different points of view. Like, and that was one of those things. It's like, it's important to set the intention. And like, your previous question that I guess I didn't answer fully. It's like, well, how do you do with that? That you feel like, oh, I'm not going to have something to do, or like, I'm not going to be okay if I don't have anything to do. What is your intention? And that whole, what if it fails? It's like, we're not looking at it like in a linear point, like, is it going to be a failure or a success? It's like, just, it's a new experience. Like, you get to do something that you haven't done yet. It's that cliche, like, it's not the destination, it's the journey. Like, if we're there looking at the destination, like, am I there yet? Am I there yet? Am I there yet? Like,
Mm,
you're not actually on the journey if you're always there, like, am I there yet? Like, stop and look around. What is
yeah.
this experience like? Not just be like, was this a success or a failure? Like, well, it was a failure if you're there from the start, seeing that in black and white. So it's really, what is your intention of, it's as simple as the intention being just, I want to deepen into presence, and I just want to understand more of myself, and like, what happens if I do stop, and just bring these things to awareness. Like, wow, I'm really not okay with stopping. Like, I really feel like I should do more, or like I should, my mind isn't resting. Like, even bringing that to awareness, like, that is really new for a lot of people. So being okay with stepping into that unknown, because that's what a lot of people like experience. They're like, okay, that's scary. I don't know what this is. Like, I don't want to experience that. It's like, well, the growth is in the comfort. So if you're there, afraid of going out of your comfort zone, then you're kind of just going against the evolution.
This is exactly what I wanted to touch on, but I didn't prepare anything question wise for it. So I'm going to go off the cuff here first and guide me through this. With your knowledge. Okay.
Okay.
I was terrified to fight,
Mm,
to get in there and go against another human being, my height, my weight, my experience, and
mm,
potentially get my head knocked off. But I overcame my fear and I got in there, and then I started to love fighting. So
Hmm.
if a guy was to approach me in a ring, I'd be like, this is my safe space. This is my home. This is where I want to be. Right. So I guess, would you say that's the definition of courage, to overcome that and then to go and find out that you really enjoy it? But my question is, and we talked about this, I think maybe a few weeks ago, my fear of heights and the fact that I don't want to get into a hot air balloon because
Mm.
I don't want to experience it. It's that I'm afraid of it, but I also don't want to experience it. Is that me being a coward at the same time?
It's it's
Guide
that,
me. Guide
yeah,
me.
it's that question of the balance of, it's like, where is it that we gotta, push through and be like, okay, yes, this is resistance and we're gonna do it anyway. And where is it's actually like, no, this is not, I actually genuinely don't want to do that. Um, I would say, first of all, and because a lot of coaches teach that, and a lot of teachers are like, motivational speakers, like, when you have that resistance, like, just do it anyway, like push through it. And I'm like, oh my God, like that is just as traumatic as basically what a lot of us like experience in childhood. It's like, I don't want to do that. Or like, share your toys. Like, but I don't want to do that. It's like, no, do it anyway, because you're supposed to. And so we're basically doing the same thing to like our inner child. And we're just like grabbing. It's like, I don't want to do it. It's like, we're grabbing by the hands, like we're doing it anyway.
Mm.
And that does not give long-term results whatsoever. So when you're there kind of like not comfortable, but it's like, but I'm going to make myself, and like, I really don't want it, I'm going to make myself, without addressing, it's like, what is coming up? Why is this causing me discomfort? What is this reminding me of? Because anything we're experiencing in our day-to-day, anything that triggers us, no matter how big or how small, it's not what's happening right now. It's actually a memory of something that we experienced in our childhood, most likely. So from our early caregivers. So it's just a replaying of that so that we can actually release it. So having that same kind of like, let's do it anyway, and like, let's push through it. That's not the way to go about it. So I would go with getting curious of, what is that about? And a lot of people actually, those that are there like, I'm afraid of this and I'm going to face my fears, that also comes from this, I've got to prove that I'm good enough, or like, I've got to prove that I'm courageous. Because a lot of people, I feel like especially men are there going into, like, I've got to prove that, I can fight this dragon or whatever, but it's coming from this need for validation and not from genuine, this is what feels right to me. So that's also a shadow aspect. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah, yeah, it definitely makes
Yeah.
sense.
So I want to say with that, to answer your questions, kind of like getting curious about, what is that coming up for you? And sometimes like we generally go into, it's like, well, I don't want to, like our mind will like, well, I have all these reasons and like, I don't want to. Have you ever been in the situation where somebody asks you a question, you're like trying to prove to them, but then you actually also understand, it's like, I'm actually trying to prove this to myself as well. Like, as you're
Yeah.
saying something, so it's like, I don't want to experience this whole fear of heights thing. It's like, there's just no point. And then like you're finding the conversation, like, I'm trying to convince myself, aren't I? So yeah, just getting curious. That's what I'm all about. Just getting curious. There's no black and white, and nobody can tell you what is right and wrong for you. It's about discovering, why is that coming up, and getting curious.
Hmm. Because people make fun of me all the time when we talk about heights, and skydiving here in Switzerland is huge. And, down in Creans on the other side of Lucerne, you got the hot air balloons that
Hmm.
go wherever the wind takes them. And I'm like, people call me a pussy because I don't want to go. I don't want to experience it. I don't want to be up there. Like, I've been on planes, I've obviously flown, but that has been a traumatic experience in and of
Oh.
itself. But like, I don't think I'm a pussy. Like, saying it that way, it's like I'm trying. I don't think I'm trying to prove it to myself, but I'm like, I could give you thousands of examples where I am the exact opposite to that, and I can be courageous and I can push through and fight through the demons that is fear. But I want to understand what I am when it comes to heights and not wanting to. I think you made fun of me actually. Was it the hot air balloon? You mentioned a hot air balloon. I'm like, no, not a
I'm not
chance.
like, I just commented on it. You just perceived that it was being made fun of. So there
Maybe
we
that's what
go.
it is. Yeah.
Um, like, we see what we want to see. No, I just commented that I had, when I went on like a large Ferris wheel, there was the like, oh, okay, this is a little bit uncomfortable. And I'm like, I wanna do that. I'm like, let's do like what, what would be a way to face that? I'm like hot air balloon. And actually, but for me, it felt like, there's a difference between fear of like, this is uncomfortable. And then there's like fear is excitement about the breath. So it's kind of like, oh my God, yes. And it's like, and I'm terrified. Like I remember I had that, I actually compare everything to this experience when I did the 20-meter free fall. And I'm there like looking down. I'm like, I know I have the harness. I know I'm going to be completely fine. But I'm there like, I don't want to do it. I'm terrified. But I'm like, but I know it's going to be that adrenaline rush. It's going to feel amazing. But in that moment, I'm like, I'm scared. So
20
there's,
meters.
yeah. So there's a difference. That's up in Pilates, and so like there's a difference between and like you don't feel up until like the very end. You don't feel that it's actually got you. So you basically just like do the free fall, and so up until there is that fear, and then there's a fear that's excitement of the breath. Like I'm really excited, and it's really scary. So just which one is that?
Yeah, I don't know. I just remember looking back on everything that I've been afraid of and pushed through. Like fighting is number one for me because
Hmm.
someone wants to take your head off. Someone wants to punch you square in the face. Like what's not terrifying about that situation? You know, fear of making a mistake on stage when it comes to playing music. Or you make a mistake, you
Hmm.
move on. But some guy could really hurt you, and that fear of now, what have I got going on right now? I got a podcast. That fear of like one view in 48 hours. Like I'm not afraid of that. If I touch one person, that's absolutely fine with me. But like I'm trying to understand from your wisdom's perspective, what I'm experiencing when it comes to heights and the hot air balloon theory that's being pushed in my direction and where I'm being called all the names under the sun. Maybe,
The point is that you don't have to push yourself, and it's like it's what you make our courage to be, because you're there kind of saying, well, I did all these difficult things. And it's also, we have very different individual understandings of what and interpretations of the word like difficult and strength. Because I mean, there are those people that like create incredible things, and then they have this fear of intimacy, and they're not comfortable opening up to their partner and be vulnerable in a relationship. But it's kind of like, what are you talking about? Like, you've done all these insane things, and this is what you're afraid of, like being fully seen. It's like, yes. So it's, who's to say what courage is on an individual level?
yeah, I'd love to talk about that further as I go down the journey of podcasting and give fear advice, especially with like relationship advice and all the stuff that I didn't necessarily want to touch on the previous
Hmm.
brand, but like talking about politics. Oh, we shouldn't talk about politics. I want to talk about politics. I want to talk about fear. I want to talk about favorite alcoholic beverages and what it does to the brain, all that type of stuff that I couldn't necessarily didn't make sense to talk about on the previous
Hmm.
brand. But yeah, that's such an interesting topic for discussion because who's not afraid of something? Everybody has fear. Everyone experiences courageous moments from time to time. And just to get
And
your
also the
perspective on
lessons
that.
that we just have, that we're just here to learn. Because I remember just this couple that they were both very conscious, very aware, did a lot of inner work. And for both of them, like it's like they were going through different blocks in a really different way. One was like, why do you have a receiving block? It's just like, I don't understand that. It's just so simple. But then that very person would struggle with something completely different. And the other partner was like, I don't have that problem. Like, I don't understand why this is a big deal. So yeah, and also I wanted to touch on what you said of just, how you're like discussing all these topics. And I'm like, I just love that level of freedom. And I mean, that's really what courage is. It's like, what brings you freedom? Like, do you believe that, for example, overcoming the fear of heights is going to provide that expansion, that feeling of freedom? Because I feel like that's a big one. We came here to be happy and to be free. And like, what are those limiting beliefs and fears that we haven't loved, that we haven't integrated, that are there keeping us stuck rather than free?
Yeah. I don't know what it is about heights. I could talk about this all night. Our elevator at the office broke about 6 weeks ago, maybe 5, 6 weeks ago. The weeks number doesn't matter. I was walking up the stairs, and it's on the third floor, and it's like part of a car parking block, and it goes down 7 levels. So you could see like 10 levels from the staircase, and I'm looking down, and I'm perfectly safe. I'm holding the banister, but I'm looking over, and my
Mm.
whole body just freezes. Like it goes numb. And I'm trying to understand why it's going numb. I'm looking over, I'm perfectly safe. I'm not going to fall. I'm not leaning over, but there's just that fear of, I guess my brain is going, what if, you know?
I don't, I'm like, how woo can I go on here? Because I mean, like some fears that are just really rational, they do come just from previous experiences in the sense of like past lives and so on. And that's a whole other topic. But I had some clients that I was working on. It's like irrational that I don't know why. And then as we would do regressional work, it's like, well, that makes sense because, that's how you died at some point. So we may have fears come up that are like that, but that was like a little bit woo-woo maybe to bring up here.
Hey, the open platform. This isn't associated with any company. This is just me. So, you want to talk about past lives and all that kind of stuff? We can do that. Joe Rogan made a point on that before. He was talking about like why, as kids, do we fear the monster under our bed? He says it's got something to do with the DNA connection from cavemen, where you were asleep in a cave and there were monsters looking to kill you from like whatever time of the night when you were trying to sleep. So I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit of truth to that. Who knows?
No, yeah, absolutely. They're just, yeah. Again, that's like a big topic of like the whole DNA and how things are. We do receive it through our lineage, and yeah, but that's a whole other topic. So there are definitely a lot of different Pandora boxes that you can open with that fear of heights of yours.
I'd love to break it down. I don't remember one flight that I've taken where I haven't been absolutely terrified, like to the point of tears, just terrified of heights. I want to get off the topic of heights because I'm
Okay.
starting to get numb. I don't know where that's going to go. But yeah, what else can we possibly talk about? Your intentions for after you got a big solstice coming up. You got is it the end of your Advent calendar, or is that am
Yes,
I
it's
mixing
until
two
the
things?
21st because after that I'll be going into 10 days of meditation and isolation and silence. And yeah, so I'll only come back right on the 31st.
So you're done talking for 10 days? Like,
Not just talking, there's like no contact with the outer world. There's no screens, no music, no journaling, no writing. It's basically just like 10 hours of meditation every single day. Yeah.
wow. Is that
Yeah.
done? Do you go somewhere or do you do that at home?
There's a center where to do that, but I'm doing it at home this year.
That's what we need as a society. We need to put away phones, TVs, laptops.
Yeah, I was recently just talking to a friend with the whole concept of this, and there's a particular technique that of meditation that you do. But I was just actually saying, I'm not sure how much of it is because of this particular technique and because of this particular schedule, and how much of it is that you could maybe just get the same benefits of just like disconnecting from life, literally doing the exact same thing, but like somewhere in a cabin in the woods and just spending time in nature. And like, for all you know, it would probably have the same effects of just like you and nature and just nothing and just you alone with your thoughts. So
Mm, phenomenal. I did two episodes actually during the pandemic, and it was at the height of we don't know what the fuck this is.
mm,
And I was getting all different types of information from news sources and experts on social media and people who are expert Googlers and stuff. And there was this breaking point for me where I was just like, that moment where you're just like, fuck off. Like
mm,
everything I needed everything to stop. I put my phone down. I didn't go on Google. I didn't go on social media. I didn't send any of my friends text messages. I went dark mode. And like 2 or 3 days later, I felt so good. Like I didn't go meditate. I was still talking to people and stuff. But just that break from social media and the
yeah.
internet.
And that's the thing that like, and we get that when it's like, oh my God, I can't, right? And it's same with like relationships with people, right? With our friends or even with our work or anything, right? With our home or whatever. It's just like, we're like, I can't, right? But the target is like not to have that burnout point, but actually prevented before. So like creating those boundaries, whether it's
Right.
with people, whether it's with your phone, whether it's with some habits that are they're like, okay, just this is a lot. And we're used to, as a, like society, right? We're just like overstimulated. We have things coming at us all the time. We have people coming at us all the time. Like we're used to being able to answer messages right away. And like, I'm always available. And it's kind of like, no, just create those boundaries. And I would actually encourage with this one, like the closing of the episode would be like to ask, where is it that you can set those boundaries? Where is it that you want to be gentle with yourself and not go into like, I always get to burnout points and like I explode as a volcano. So like, can we prevent that? Can we like stop before that happens and just notice, okay, like I'm going like, it's like from green to red. It's like I'm at a yellow right now and I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
And so actually taking those pauses instead of waiting for a nervous system to be in overload.
I felt exactly that, because I was trying to figure out, who was I going to listen to? What was I going to do? Do I just follow the news? Do I just do what I'm told? And like, I got to that burnout point where I was just sick of the information, essentially.
Mm,
I was just like, I'm done. I'm not listening to you. I'm not listening to them. I'm not
mm,
listening to anybody. You want me to stay at home? I'll fucking stay at home. But get off my brain. Stop telling me to do things,
mm.
essentially, but yeah, that those two episodes where I just talked about my complete burnout were very, very successful. So
It's like that was relatable. No, but it's also like similarly when we have like a day and there's just like a lot going on and you're there like let's say running late and things like shit just happens and you're like like you have to take care of this and you're like, oh my God, like I just can't. And often people are like trying to like, it's okay, like let me just figure it out. Let me burn out some more. And the thing to do in that moment is just drop and be like, just stop. I'm gonna take 15 minutes. And the mind's gonna go, it's like, I don't have 15 minutes. Like, just take 15 minutes and stop. And that reset and just breathe. And that reset of or go have some tea, which seems like completely unreasonable and illogical because like I do not have 15 minutes, but that 15 minutes will actually like create time and not take time because we can't from that fight or flight, we can't make decisions like good long-term decisions. So it's
yeah,
actually from that, just stop, just disconnect, and then we can move forward from there.
there you go. That's some good advice right there. Will you tell people that you're disconnecting?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like the people that I speak to closely, like they know that I'm disconnecting, and some people I mean, some people will just find out when I turn on my phone again. I'm like, oh yeah, I wasn't there for 10 days. My
Yeah.
mom actually, when I did this the first time, because it was supposed to be at the center and there's no contact. Like you just give your like if something happens, you don't know. You're just gonna come back to it as you're back. There's no way to reach you. So she was like, well, what if I die? And I'm like, I guess I'm gonna find out after I get out. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? Like, because it was just
Wow.
funny. I'm like, I really don't know what to tell you. What do you want to hear from me? So yeah, there was just that. Yeah, the
That's
world will
aggressive.
go on. Well, it's just like the world will go on. But yeah, because she was like, what do you mean you're gonna be unreachable? What if something happens? And I'm like, then something will happen. And then she went to that extreme example. I'm like, again, I can't help you. So yeah, just understanding that the world will keep going without you. And actually the first realization, the first time I got that is when because I was just here and I'm like, the life can't go on without me. And then my father passed away, and then I just had to leave my life to go to his funeral. And I was like, huh, the world didn't stop. Like nobody died apart from my dad. Like nobody died in my life. It was just like it was okay. And it's not until, for most people, it's not until something big like that happens or they have health issues where they actually have to stop that they realize like, oh, I didn't have to reach this burnout stage all the time. Like the world will actually be okay if I delegate, if I don't put all of this load on me. Like that's okay too.
That is pretty wise, because I know quite a few people who are, I guess we say, burning the candle from both ends.
Hmm.
And then that burnout will happen. And
Yeah.
then the world will still take over, but they're going to be in a hospital somewhere. So yeah, that
And you have
sounds
nothing to give from that place of like it's kind of like give from the overflow, not from the undertow. Like you have nothing to give if you're empty, if you're running like we said in that state of like fight or flight. I'm like, okay, I'm putting out fires and like, what do you need? It's like it's not like open fully, okay, I'm here with you, what do you need right now? It's like, okay, here you go. Like it's just that it doesn't create the kind of connection or the kind of life or the kind of anything that you want. So take care of you first and then give from that place.
there you go. Words of wisdom right there from Anna, the powerful self. Tell people where you are, what you're doing, and I'll put links in the description for people to click.
Yeah, well, like we talked about the Instagram, so I'm definitely on Instagram almost every day. It's at the spiritual analyst, and I also have a YouTube channel. Their videos are going a little bit more in depth, and that's that powerful self.
Phenomenal. Anna, you are a wonderful human being. I wish you and your family and everyone close to you a very happy Christmas, and enjoy your 10 days disconnection. I will talk to you when you're reconnected.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here, and I wish you happy holidays as well.
Rock and roll. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it.